Welcome back to Aussie Arvos. Now, a lot of you guys are probably used to seeing us work on our four-wheel drives, but today we're doing something a little bit different. Now, a lot of you may have a practical daily car if you don't fancy the fuel bill of driving your four-wheel drive to work every day, or you want something just a little bit practical or a little bit more comfortable. Now, mine ticks one of those boxes and misses the other, but today we're gonna fix it. Now, my VE ute is comfortable and it is good on fuel, but it definitely misses out on the practicality side of things. And this is mostly because when I was 18, I thought it was a great idea to drop it on the ground. Now this looks good, but it certainly doesn't make the car practical for daily driving. So we've got a whole bunch of parts here, and today we're gonna fix my mistake. Now before I even start taking parts off the car, one of the first things I've got to do is assemble my new struts for all four corners. Now, I bought these straight off Facebook Marketplace. As you can tell, they've probably seen better days, they're not brand new. But don't worry, I'm not going to be using the old shocks. I've been in touch with our mates at Fulcrum, and they've sent us a brand new set of Formula shocks for all four corners of the car. So what do I actually need from this old unit? I'm going to be reusing this top hat and the factory height spring. The first step to disassembling this rear strut is to use a pair of spring compressors to compress the spring and therefore take the tension off the strut itself. Now you'll know you've got enough tension on your spring compressors and therefore the tension off the shock when you can get that little bit of play between the spring and the body of the strut itself. I'm going to use a ratchet spanner, and these actually have an Allen key drive in the end of it. So 6mm hex drive on the ratchet, and you'll know as soon as you go to unwind this that there isn't any tension left on it. Now you don't want to do that without the spring compressor on there. The spring has potential to turn into a missile across your workshop. Now with the top mount off the spring, I've also just had to remove the cover off the shock as it wouldn't fit through the bottom of this spring. So that just pulled off the top of the shock. And we should be right to bring our shock out. So what I'm going to do is back the tension off this. I'm going to label which cap it came off, and I'm actually going to give these things a clean up. Do I need to do that? Probably not. Will it make any difference? Also probably not, but if I'm going to put shiny parts under the car, may as well make them all clean to start with. Now before I go give all those other parts a clean up, I'm also going to disassemble our front struts. Now same idea as what we did with the rear struts here, guys. I'm going to be throwing out the strut itself. I'm going to be keeping the spring and the top plate. I will be replacing the strut top bushers as they're super common to fail on a VE. So I've also got some new boots, as you can see. Yeah, these ones have seen better days. So that's all going in the bin. Let's grab the springs off these, grab the top plates, and we'll go out and give everything a clean up. We can start putting it back together. Now, they're pretty straightforward, but there is a couple of things you want to make sure you get right. That's to do with the alignment of the top plate, the spring, and the strut body itself. They do sort of have to clock to the right spot. In the past, when I've replaced strut top bushers in this ute, I got it wrong, misaligned it, and it basically rips the center out of this strut top bush after about 2,000 Ks. Before installing any new strut or shock into a car, I like to give them a couple of full cycles from open to closed. Then it's just a matter of installing all our new and reused componentry onto the new struts. So we've got a new dust protection boot and bump stop, our reused springs and spring top plates with the spring insulators, and our new strut top bushers. When reassembling the strut top bushers onto the new struts, be sure to note the orientation of the washers. It's pretty common for these to go back together facing the wrong way around, and over time it can cause damage to the strut top bushers. Now I've got all the parts assembled onto the new strut, but I've still got the spring held captive in the spring compressors, so I can still rotate it. Now what you have to try and align is a little mark in the top plate that looks like a W notched into the outer edge of that plate, but you want that 180 degrees out from the flange where the spindle bolts to. So basically the opposite edge of the strut to that, so the inner edge of the strut. So all you do is twist that until it lines up, and then you just let the spring tension off, and that's where that spring will sit. The final steps to assembling the front strut after torquing up the top nut are to install the bump stop into its position in the top plate and then cable tie the protective boot over the new strut. After assembling the front struts for the VE, these rear struts go together like a breeze. So I took the new Formula struts and installed onto them our old springs and all the existing hardware that we're going to be reusing. Alignment of the rear struts is pretty straightforward. I just align the spring onto the top plate so that it sits into its seat nicely, and then I'll try and line up the bottom of the strut so that the bolt will easily fit through the lower control arm when it's being reinstalled onto the car. This can be moved as you're installing it, so don't panic too much about getting it dead straight. However, it is definitely easier to position it while you haven't got spring tension on the strut. With the struts for all four corners fully assembled, ready to get the car up on the jack stand so we can start to install our new suspension. Now at the car's current height, it is a little bit of a juggling act just to fit the trolley jack underneath it, and this is just another thing I'm looking forward to making lots easier once the car is back at its factory height. Now that I've got the VE sitting up on the jack stands high enough that I can actually work underneath it, we're ready to start pulling the struts out of each corner of the car and getting this thing back to its factory height. To get the rear struts out of the VE, all I had to undo was 4 bolts in the top strut plate that go into the frame of the car and 1 bolt in the bottom of the strut to the lower control arm. I also had to undo the 1 bolt at the outer end of the lower control arm to allow me to push the lower control arm low enough to get the strut out past it. You may also have to undo one or both ends of the sway bar to allow you to push the arm down, as otherwise it'll want to hold on the sway bar. So while I've got this strut out of the back of the ute, it seems like this is going to be a good time to install my next upgraded part. Now, one of the goals in lifting the car back up to factory height was to still have it handle well. So obviously these handle pretty good from factory, and compared to a GQ on muddies, anything like this is going to be great, right? Of course. But one of the best things about it being on low springs, and I honestly doubt whether it makes a massive improvement, but I think there is an improvement there, is that you obviously lower the center of gravity, so you reduce the body roll. I want it to still handle well, corner well, while being at a higher ride height and obviously being able to go over speed bumps. So I was talking to the guys at Fulcrum when we were organising the new shocks for the car, and one of the things they suggested was to look at some upgraded sway bars. So I was going to do sway bar links anyway, because especially in the front of these, they tend to wear out the sway bar link and they get a bit of a knock in the front end, which is what these have got. They are worn out. So yeah, we decided to go with some upgraded sway bars. So this is a heavy duty rear sway bar from Super Pro. It is adjustable, so you've got 3 points of adjustment on here as to how stiff you want the handling of the car to be, or how stiff you want the sway bar to be. I've also got a front one to go in the car. So let's get the old rear one out, because already looking at it, I can see this is going to be a massive improvement, because the rear one in this looks like it does barely anything. It's tiny. So to get the sway bar out from under the back of the VE, all I had to undo was these 2 bolts and remove these saddles that hold the sway bar to the frame of the car. Then, with the sway bar links already undone, I was able to simply weave it between the exhaust and the spare wheel to get the sway bar out from under the car. Now, as soon as I put the old sway bar on the floor of the shed next to the new one, the improvement that I was making was pretty obvious. The new sway bar is almost double as thick in diameter as the old one, so this should make a massive difference to the handling of the car. Fitting the new sway bar was as simple as it was removing the old one. I greased and fitted the new bushes that come in the kit with the sway bar, and then fitted the sway bar with its new bushes and the saddles back underneath the back of the VE. Then I was ready to install the new sway bar links. Now these are also a massive upgrade over the factory ones, and it's pretty obvious when you put the two of them next to each other. Next up, we were ready to install our freshly assembled rear struts. Now, the only thing that was a little bit trickier for getting these in was that I did have to flex the lower control arm down a little bit due to the overall longer length of the new rear struts. Then I found the easiest way to get the top plate to bolt up is to get the bottom bolt into the strut first in the lower control arm, then get a trolley jack under the lower control arm and bring the whole assembly up close to ride height so that you can get the top bolts lined up with the holes in the frame of the car. With the left side of the car all put back together, it was as simple as repeating the same process for the right side, and then we were ready to move on to the front end. With the back of the ute all sorted out, next up we're going to be doing our front struts. Now I've also got a heavy duty adjustable front sway bar to go in this thing, which is even more hefty than the rear one, so keen to get that in. First up, let's get these old struts out. To remove the front struts, I started by undoing the 2 bolts that hold the bottom end of the strut to the front hub assembly. Then I undid the brake and ABS lines, being careful not to damage anything in the process. And the last thing to unbolt from underneath the wheel arch was the sway bar link. Not sure if you can hear this, but this is one of the noises I was talking about, the reason I'm replacing the sway bar links especially. They make this front end noise you can hear, especially on like corrugated roads, so basically every Victorian road makes this sound. And that's just a tiny bit of play in the sway bar links themselves, most of the fronts. So yeah, obviously wanted to replace those, but we've ended up upgrading the whole setup, so I don't think that's going to be a problem from now on. With everything removed from the bottom end of the strut, I was able to let the whole front hub assembly just sit out the way while I undid the top strut nut and took the whole strut assembly out of the car. I then strapped the front hub assembly up a little bit into the wheel arch, so hopefully it would be a bit more out of the way for me to pull the sway bar out past it. After removing part of the air intake to gain access to the front sway bar, I taped over the throttle body just to stop any potential debris going into the engine while I was working on removing this front sway bar from the car. Given that the front sway bar is mounted to the top side of the front subframe, there's no real easy way to get it out from under the front of the car. So to put it quite simply, I just tried every different angle I could possibly think of until eventually it came out of the car. Now that we've got the old sway bar out and the new one laid next to it on the floor, you can definitely see the difference, same as we were in the back here, guys. This is a massive step up. I think between these and the springs, this thing's gonna be a completely different car the way it handles. So let's weave this thing back in there. It was not easy to get the old one out. This one's a little bit thicker, so we'll see how we go. Now, if I thought getting the factory sway bar out of the front of the VE was challenging enough, getting the upgraded one in definitely tested me. Not only is it obviously a larger diameter, but also having the larger plates on the end of it, giving it the adjustability, made it quite difficult to weave it past everything in the engine bay. However, it was pretty much the same process as taking the old one out. I took my time and was able to weave it through everything without causing any damage. The only thing I had to take off additional to what I had already removed from the car was to take off one tie rod end so I could drop the tie rod, swing the sway bar in past it, and then reattach the tie rod to the knuckle assembly afterwards. Well, that's the new upgraded sway bar just sitting in the front of the VE. Now, I haven't actually bolted anything up yet because, to be honest, I'm just taking a breather after the absolute marathon that was. I'm sure we'll speed the video up, but that was probably about half an hour of fluffing around trying to get that through. So main thing to look out for, lower radiator hose. It's a little bit tight against that, so obviously make sure you're not wedging it into that. And obviously not taking all the paint off the shiny new sway bar. So I was being a little bit careful there. And you can touch the bottom of the balancer and the belt. So obviously you don't want to hit them into that too hard. Now this is a V6, so there's a little bit more room in the front end. If you've got a V8, I believe they can be a little bit trickier. But either way, that was definitely a lot easier than the factory workshop manual, which recommended that I strap or support the engine and gearbox and lower the crossmember or lower the subframe, which obviously I didn't want to do. So even though that was a little bit tricky, it was certainly a lot easier than the way that manual told me to do it. With the upgraded front sway bar in the car, we were ready to install our freshly reassembled front struts. Now this is just the reverse of the process of removing them, and it's pretty straightforward. There are some adjustments for the alignment of the front end, however I'm not touching any of that, I'm just leaving it all how it was because of course we're going to be taking the car to Treadworks to get it all set up once it's back on the road. The upgraded front sway bar kit also came with a set of Super Pro upgraded sway bar links, and as with the rear, these are way more substantial than the factory ones. For a start, I'm setting them up to be the same length as the factory ones though, so I can get them in the car and then we'll adjust them if needed. Now that we've got the new shocks, upgraded sway bars, and the standard height springs back into the VE, there's only one thing left to bolt on before we can get this thing on the ground, and that is of course the wheels and tyres. Now I've decided to change up my wheel combination on this car just a little bit, and that is mainly to go from a 19-inch wheel down to an 18. Now that's just to get a little bit more tyre profile and a little bit more rubber between the wheel and the road. Now, if you know the state of Victorian roads at the minute, anything less than a 33, you're running pretty much at your own risk. And in the last 100,000 Ks, I have cracked 2 of those 19-inch wheels, and that is with avoiding potholes the best you can, believe it or not. So these are probably the best sort of happy medium I could find between the looks of the wheel and still having that little bit more tyre profile. I didn't particularly want to go all the way to Steely's and have a super high profile tyre, but I also wanted to get away from the 19s just to get a little bit more comfort and a little bit less likelihood of cracking another wheel. The final step before bolting the wheels back onto the car was to use one of these new King Chrome hub scrubbers to clean up the mounting face. With the wheels back on the car, I had just one last job to do before I could sit this thing down on the ground and see how it sits on its new suspension, and that was to torque up 2 bolts in each side in the lower control arms in the rear end. Now, these were the only 2 bolts in the whole job that needed to be done at ride height. Then I could do the bolts up while the car sat at ride height, and then I was ready to lower the car onto the ground. Check that out. It's already more practical straight off the get-go. So before, I could never have the front of the car lifted up before I lifted the back of the car up because the rear bumper gets so low you couldn't get a trolley jack under it. So you sort of had to do this awkward balancing act of lifting the back up a little bit and then the front and back front. I used to actually put it on wood blocks most of the time just to get a trolley jack under it. So to be able to do that, super convenient. I wasn't sure going from the lowered suspension back up to factory height how it was going to go as far as looks are concerned. Obviously, I still think it looked better on the ground. They're always going to look better sitting in the weeds as far as I'm concerned. But as far as practicality is concerned, obviously it's going to be a lot better to actually be able to put things in the back of the ute, actually tow things with it, go over speed bumps and drive on Victorian roads comfortably. Now, the last thing I've got to do is torque up the wheel nuts, and then we're going straight on the first drive, straight over to Treadworks to see Nathan. He's going to do a front and rear wheel alignment on the car. Of course, that's super important. Not only have we had most of the suspension out of the car, but obviously we've changed the ride height pretty dramatically. I'd say that the rear of the car is probably sitting, I'll have a measure of it, but I think it's sitting about 80 to 100 mil higher. So yeah, massive difference. Obviously that will have affected the suspension geometry. So yeah, we'll head over to Nath's and he's going to get the alignment all sorted out. The rear's never been aligned in this car since I got it, because every time anyone looked at it, they went, it's got lowered springs in it. It can't be right. Don't even bother, pretty much.
You get a lot of, really low Commodores where the factory adjuster, the thing will have 2.5 degrees of negative camber, and you max it out and now it has 2 degrees instead of 2.5. It's better, but it's not.
So, I mean, that camber's already sucked all the way in, so luckily the camber's not really the issue. We just need to adjust the toe, so.
If you've seen our cars in at Treadworks in the past, you may have just thought Nathan would only work on 4-wheel drives. However, as far as I know, if it's got 4 wheels, this guy can align it. And I'm yet to have a car drive out of Treadworks that didn't handle better on the road than it did driving in there. So I'm just heading home from Treadworks, and already the car is like a night and day difference from how it was before. Not only now that the alignment's sorted, the car is tracking like dead straight, and also with the wheels being balanced again, there's no vibration through the steering wheel. It's driving absolutely mint, but these new sway bars I think are what's doing so much difference for the car. So I think it's a bit of a combination, the factory height springs, the factory height shocks, and being new shocks as well, and having the new Super Pro sway bars, I think it's like a night and day difference. I think all those things combined have just made the car drive so different. It's comfortable over the bumps, and yet through the corners it's dead flat. Like, I'm going through some pretty hard corners right now, and the car is just not leaning at all. Like, there's no lean in it, and yet this road's rough. Like, I'm still in Victoria, obviously, so it's covered in potholes, and like I hit some potholes back there going through a corner. So much nicer than it was before. Before, every time you hit a bump like that, you felt bad for the car. Like you felt it in your soul. So now it's like it rides over the bump smooth, but going through the corners it still sits flat. And I think it leans less than it did before. That's the most impressive part about the whole thing. Like, it's sitting higher, it's riding nicer, and yet every time I go into a corner I think, oh, it's gonna lean here, and it doesn't. That was the worst section on this road, and it just went over it like nothing. But through these corners it is just dead flat. I mean, obviously it's still, it's a Holden Ute, it's not a race car, but compared to how it was and compared to every other car I own, this thing handles like a go-kart. It's awesome. So that's all the work done for this episode on the VE, and if you can't tell already, I'm absolutely stoked with how this thing came out. From the shocks to the springs to the sway bars, the car handles 100% better than it ever has before, and it's going to be so much more practical as a daily car. If you guys like this video, make sure to give it a like, get subscribed, and we'll see ya in the next one.